Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And today we're going to be reading this post that Julz came across. And by the way, today's episode is called I Pick Me.
I'm mouthing the words. I pick me too.
Yeah. You're not someone's second option. You're not someone's maybe. You're someone's answered prayer. You're worth more than questions and doubts. You're the very person someone is begging God to find. Move on and let God send you your person. You won't have to chase what God sends. It'll come with peace and confirmation. How much do I love that?
It gives me goosebumps.
Yes.
I mean, I've had so many signs of this in my own life. And maybe I'm jumping the gun, but my most favorite story, and my sweet daughter-in-law, I think maybe gets tired of me talking about this all the time.
It's a great story, though.
But when my son was born, I used to hold him and look at him, and I prayed over him, and I asked God to prepare his heart for this beautiful girl, and I prayed for her heart. And man, I said that prayer for close to 10 years before she was even born. And it just was so crazy because during his dating career prior to her coming into his life, I could always look at him and be like, that's not her. That is not the girl that I've been praying for. And then enters my gorgeous daughter in love. I mean, I'm literally in love with her. I'm obsessed with her. I adore her. She truly represents what God's idea is versus what your idea is, because it's always way better, way bigger. And sometimes we have to get out of God's way.
We do.
I mean, not sometimes. We
Always.
we always need to surrender and just be bold in what you are asking in these conversations that you have with God, but then also have expectation.
Yeah. Well, and so I actually think that this topic is kind of multi-layered, right?
Absolutely.
Because one of the things that we talk about kind of in this dating culture is, there's this such thing as a pick-me girl. And it's the girl who is basically super desperate and is like chasing after the guys, bending over backwards and trying to do whatever they can to kind of latch on. And really that comes from a place of insecurity. There might be some abandonment wounds there. There's usually some kind of anxious attachment style that goes along with that. So there's all sorts of things that are super negative about the pick-me girl. But what we want to really focus on today is exactly what Julz talked about praying to God and waiting for your person, but also you picking yourself.
Yep.
So I pick me. And what that means is that I have my list. I've worked on my list.
That's right.
I've had a lot of experiences over the years, which clarifies what I want and what I don't want. So I'm super clear. And at the same time, because I pick me, I'm also willing to be firm and waiting for the right thing. And I say this all the time. The person I'm looking for is also looking for me.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this is not about desperation. This is not about chasing and hoping that somebody else sees your value and your worthiness. It's about you kind of letting all that go and deciding that when you actually claim that prayer for yourself and when you actually believe it to be true, you really have so much peace over you. And then there's no, for people that are feeling lonely, I totally get that. I understand it. But a relationship is not a good idea just to satisfy your loneliness.
No.
You still have to kind of peel back the layers of the onion to figure out really why that exists and come to a place of peace and come to a place of love, first and foremost for yourself.
That's right. I spent decades of my life wondering, why hasn't he called? Why hasn't he texted? And then just breaking out into a sweat if he walked into the room and getting so nervous. And I never felt quite good enough for anyone, but I wasn't being good enough for myself either. Yeah. And just, I encourage you at such a high level to seek help, work on yourself. Don't be someone who's begging. I mean, we just talked to somebody earlier today who those words came out of her mouth. I don't understand why he hasn't called. I don't understand why he's not texting. In the beginning of the relationship, he did this and this and this. Well, if you're only a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even a year into a relationship and you're already starting to see his level of interest go down and he's not being the same guy that you saw at first, well, that's because the euphoric stage is already gone.
Right.
So
right.
You're not, if you have a feeling of insecurity in that relationship, listen to it.
Listen to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
it's telling you something.
It's your gut. And we've got an episode, we've got the list, we've got your gut, we've got all these things.
And mulligans also, because this is when not to give a mulligan.
Yeah, you don't give a mulligan. And I mean, Jay and I are 12 years into our relationship, and probably once a week, we still have these checkpoints, is what we call them. And he'll be like, how are we doing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? What'd you do?
Yeah.
But he's like, I didn't do anything. I just want to make sure you're good. And it's super cool. And then I'll do it to him. I'm like, hey, still love me? It's not a sign of insecurity.
No.
They're just check-in moments with each other to say, is there anything that you need that I'm not providing you? Or we just want to stay top of mind with each other. And always, God comes first in our marriage, and then we come second.
Yeah.
But that's because God is at the center of our relationship, and we just like him. We like him at the helm of our ship.
Yep.
And so
you literally just said in like the last 60 seconds, like 3 really important kind of bullet points that came up for me. I'm going to rewind a little bit to what you just said. Yep. The first one is when you're dating somebody early on and they, whether it's a few weeks in or a few months in, they start doing things differently than how they started. That is a sign of being inconsistent. And what that says to me is that they showed you who they wanted you to fall for in the beginning, but it's not really who they are. So I would see that as
a little bit of love bombing.
It is. So I would see that as a very, very clear sign of, inconsistency should tell you something. And in my experience, that is a chance for you to redirect your energy. The second point that I was going to say is, based on what you just said, is that when somebody does pull away, you should be pulling away too. You should only be, I think, and I've kind of learned this the hard way, don't overgive. Don't try to, if somebody isn't doing for you, don't try to do more than they are to try to win them. That's actually going to repel them, I think. I think that is going to push them further apart because they're retreating for a reason. Yeah. And it could be that they're losing interest. It could be that maybe, I don't know what, something else came up. So you have to be very careful not to overgive. If the effort isn't there, then don't do more than the other person is doing. And then the other thing that you said, which is when you then have your person and you're married, I've heard this for many years when people say never stop dating the person. And so what you just said about checking in with each other, constant communication, they still have, fun, flirty experiences. They still do all the things. And so you never stop dating. So it never dulls out. You know what I mean? You keep that alive.
You can't let a marriage get heavy. I mean, you just can't. You've got to keep it light and bright. And, I used to be so codependent and insecure that if not Jay, because I'd healed myself by the time I met Jay, but in my previous life, if someone I was in a relationship with went out of town for a couple of days, I literally could not eat.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you telling me that.
I could not breathe. I got physically ill. Yeah. And that is a clear indication that you are not ready for a relationship. You're going to put too much responsibility on the other person. Now Jay goes out of town and I miss him, but I know he's coming home and I enjoy my time to not put my makeup on, not do my hair. eat last night. I ate a bowl of macaroni and cheese, which I never eat. But,
Yeah. She said it was really good. She told me all about
I
it
made
this
homemade
morning.
mac and cheese last night, and it was so good. It's so easy, guys. I can't believe. Anyway, not that I couldn't eat mac and cheese when Jay's at home. He doesn't care, but just to do things and to feel confident, and I don't know. It's if you have those signs, if you're dating someone and they go out of town and you have that going on, you need to go get some help, some counseling, and find out what your root is that's causing you to be so dependent on that person.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And the other thing for me is find out what it is that's creating that for you. But what I want for everybody and what I learned for myself is that I love my me time.
Right.
I love pampering myself. I love spa days. I love traveling. I love going out salsa dancing. I love doing the things that light me up and that doesn't include anybody else. I'll do it myself.
Right.
So there's something really, really awesome. Now, do I want a partner? Absolutely. Do I want somebody to dance with? Absolutely. Do I want to build a great, relationship and life with somebody? Yes, all of those things are true. But what I have learned in the journey post-divorce is that you first need to heal you and feel like a whole, complete person because of the love and worthiness that you feel for yourself.
And that's
first.
The pick me part.
That's the pick me part that instead of wanting some external person, some external source to create that, pick me effect, you pick yourself. And spoil yourself rotten. Pick yourself.
Because there's a hole inside of you that you are trying to fill with someone else, and they can't fill that hole.
Yeah.
You have to. I let God fill mine because that's I always thought I had a relationship with God, and I did, but not. I wasn't showing up like I should be, and so I've said before, my dad died when I was young, and so I always said I had a daddy-shaped hole in my heart, and I was always looking for the warmth and the security and the home that I had prior to him dying, and nobody is going to fill that hole, and nobody should have that responsibility. So I had to fill that hole, and I chose a lot of therapy. I chose a lot of counseling. I chose a lot of time with God. I chose a lot of prayer, journaling. I chose me because I was clearly no good for anyone else. What I had to offer was so broken, and I've said this before too. I literally felt like a homeless dog, begging constantly, and the crumbs were good enough. They were good enough. Guess what? After I understood myself and what was going on, I didn't want crumbs anymore. And I got a full, what would you call Jay?
Full course.
I got a full course. He shows up. He's fun. He takes awesome care of himself and me and our children and our home and everything. He showed up 100% for me, and I show up 100% for him.
Yeah. And
there's a big, huge difference.
And that's really what I think we all want.
Yeah.
It's just how do we get there, right? So, some of the things that I would say, and we've talked about it, but, for those of you that are watching that are uncertain of kind of what the path looks like, if you are uncomfortable sitting in a room in silence for an extended period of time, I would invite you to sit in the discomfort and to really explore that, because it starts there. It starts right there. If you are not able to sit in your own, just by yourself, and just listen to nothing, turn the TV off, turn the music off, just sit there. I feel like this is where people get into trouble, because they throw a lot of distractions in the mix. They keep themselves busy. This is when you can, sometimes become either an overachiever, a workaholic, or you start maybe drinking too much, or you start doing things that are they are distractions, and they are to prevent you from sitting in silence.
They're numbing.
Yes, that's what they are.
It's almost like, I mean, being an overworker or a workaholic or an overachiever or any of those things are the same thing as alcohol, sex, drugs. I mean, you pick your numbing tool.
Yeah.
And I've done it, and that's why I can talk about it so openly, because it is just not a pretty part of my life. And I was putting warm bodies in places that wasn't fair to them. It was not fair to my children, I can tell you that for sure. And it always ended the same. There was no way that it was going to survive, and that was because I'd never picked myself first. I never looked in the mirror and was accountable to me, and recognizing that I was the common denominator in what was going on in my life. And when you can get to that point and you can pick yourself and look in the mirror and then go, this is what I'm going to work on, that's when the light comes on. Well, the sun comes out, really.
Yep.
The sun starts coming out, and you just have these incredible aha moments of understanding yourself. And then you don't have to walk in shame anymore. That's the beauty of picking yourself, giving yourself a chance to understand who you are.
Yep. And just to let you know what the discomfort is your own, it's kind of like your own trauma and wounds kind of rearing their head, right? And they're kind of poking at you. And what that feeling is, it's a feeling of not enoughness. It's a feeling of unworthiness. It's a feeling of, shame and insecurity.
Begging.
And it's a shrinking feeling, and it's so painful that you don't want to feel it.
Yeah.
That's typically what is going on, which is why all the addictions and distractions and all the other things, that's just a to make it very simple. But of course, there's a lot more complication to that. But the point here is that if you find yourself in a space of that, then, we would highly encourage you to have somebody that you can trust, judgment-free zone for you to talk to. This is where I found, well, number one, Julz was by my side, but I also started going to therapy, and, there are amazing programs out there that are all about personal development where you can, work alongside other people. And I'll tell you, I have built some amazing friendships throughout these kind of programs, because everybody's there because everybody wants to be loved and everybody wants to improve themselves. So for me, I find it's a group of like-minded people. It's a group of people that are really wanting to grow and learn and progress in life. That's a great group to be a part of.
It really is.
Because it is gonna put you on the right trajectory for your next chapter. And so I think that is a really great place to start. The other thing that I would say is where it might kind of rear its head, if you're not sure if this episode is for you, is if you're currently on the dating scene, because this is where I realized it for me early on. And I've actually had conversations with my ex-husband about this. It was probably like a 2-hour long conversation where we get along really well. So we were able to have this conversation. Not everybody can do this with their ex, but he and I sat down.
I can.
Yeah.
Well, I can with one of them.
Right. But not with the other.
Right.
But we were able to we had a conversation where we kind of thought back, and we talked about our wounds, and we talked about how we saw each other and what we were trying to do. Like it was kind of, we were fumbling through life. We didn't know this stuff. So that conversation was actually really eye-opening and really helpful. And if it's possible for you to do it with your ex, because honestly, I was with mine for 20 years. And so in this capacity, he knows me better than anybody else, right? Up until this point. So I can say anything to him. And I know that that's also a judgment-free zone. And I can ask questions about, do you remember this? And, I remember feeling X, Y, or Z. So maybe that's not possible for you, but I would say for you to uncover those kinds of things, and anyone that can support you on the journey is going to be really helpful to you. So if you're currently dating and you find yourself, like Julz mentioned in the beginning, when's he going to call? When's he going to respond? And if days go by and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm still waiting. If you're spending your time waiting and worrying, we're going in the wrong direction. Because
he's telling you.
He's already telling you
how interested he is, or her. I
Right.
mean, maybe she's ghosting you. If you're a man listening to this, we always seem to think it's women.
Right.
And
no,
we are targeting women on this, but
Yeah.
we were just having a conversation earlier how we really need to help guys too, because they really struggle with making themselves desirable on some of these bios that we read on the dating site.
It's true. It's true. God, good
It's
God.
just about maybe using ChatGPT or something.
Yeah, or maybe better pictures. I mean,
Right.
there's this is the way that I see it. It's if you are going to throw yourself out there on dating apps or the dating scene or whatever, how are you showing up? Because you may not realize it, but you're kind of think about a car. I'm going to use a car example.
Or
think
a job
about
interview.
Think yeah,
But
well,
a car. We'll
but
start with the car.
think about a car. If you have a car, it's a used car that you want to sell, right? And you want to get the highest possible value for it, right? Would you take it to trade it in with it trashed?
No.
Would you take it with the interior having candy wrappers and drink bottles and, all the shit that's in your car? Would you do that? Would you take it with dirty windows and, a nasty exterior? No, I would
go get
hope
it
not.
detailed.
I would hope that you get it detailed, that you really bring it to the best possible condition that you can bring it to, elevate it to that, and then you show up to the place to get the best possible trade-in, right?
Well, and it is like a job interview. It's your chance to allow yourself to shine. You want to bring up your best points. You want to cast yourself in the best light. It's the same thing on a dating app. I mean, if you're not there yet and you think that is the best you have to offer, don't go on the dating. Go choose you and go get some help and attract who you are.
Right.
Because if that's how you're showing up, that's what you're going to attract. And chances are that you're not both showing up 100%.
Well, then you're going to complain about it because it's not going to work out well.
Right.
And so that's what we're hoping that you avoid. And the problem here is that most people stay in that cycle
Right.
of the they're not right, they're not right, they're not right, and this wasn't good, and that was a waste of time, and this or that. But who is the common denominator in the whole thing, right? So if you take the time to show up differently, and by the way, if you then throw yourself out there and you're not getting the responses, then you're coming from, for me personally, I'm thinking, and this is what the quote says, for me, the person that I'm looking for, I know is also looking for me. So if I'm not getting a response or a callback or whatever, I'm not worried about it. I have a life to live.
That's right.
I have stuff to do. I am traveling. I am dancing. I am laughing. I am going to dinner. I'm doing all this stuff. So I'm not worried about it at all.
Oh my gosh, you bring up a really painful thing that's going on right now in a person that I know. She lost her husband, and please, please, please make a life for yourself outside.
I know who you're talking about.
A relationship. And because if everything hinges on the one person, it's really hard to get out of that dark place. And the loneliness is just so consuming. And it just, it makes me, I was talking to my sister about it yesterday because I was like, make sure that you've got your own shit going on because we're getting old. And
well, I'm not.
You're not. And I'm very, very young inside. I just have my crown of wisdom that I wear all the time. Anyway.
Which I greatly appreciate, so it's
yes,
fine.
I have a long time to go, so I'm young too. Just don't be completely dependent on somebody.
Yeah. It's about sharing your life with somebody. It's not about relying 100% on the other person to make you happy, because what happens when that person's gone? We're not hoping for that, but if
it happens every single day.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they die or if they leave.
My dad was alive one day and gone the next.
Exactly.
I mean, and so nobody can tell me that things don't happen, and they happen quickly.
Right.
So you want to be you for yourself. Again, picking you. It's so funny because I'm in the middle of getting a certification for a new role that I want to take on in my life. And I love how Jay always, I'm telling him about it, and he's done this because I love change. I've just decided not to change my marriage. I change other things now. But Jay always says, I'm so happy for you. And at first, I was like, what do you mean you're happy for me? This is for us. And he was like, no, I'm happy for you. And it's finally sunk in that, I mean, he will absolutely reap the benefits of it, but he's happy for me.
Yes, because this is for you.
Right.
He's not participating in the daily activity of it. And this is why it's important to figure out who you are as a person, as an individual, what makes you happy, what lights you up, what do you want to do, how do you want to spend your time. It can't be 100% about latching on to somebody else.
No, and
you have to be a whole human.
You do. I mean, he's got interests out. He just got his captain's license, which is
so awesome,
exciting. And I feel like we are entering probably the best chapter of our lives, and we are really redesigning.
Yeah.
Our lives, and it involves travel, it involves him chartering boats out on the ocean, it involves me being there as the hospitality director,
which she is really great at, and he's really great at what he does. And so this is a way for them to be able to combine their skills and their passions. I think that's awesome.
That's really super exciting, but it's so fun to, I mean, he had to go away to school for almost a month, and it was funny because he was talking about doing it, and he was like, can I go? And I was like, what do you mean, can you go? Don't ask me permission. This is your life. Are you going to be doing anything wrong? If you're wanting to do something that is a purpose that God has put inside of you, you need to do it.
You need to do it.
You need to have a partner in your life who's going to support that and not, I can't imagine saying, no, Jay, you can't
no, Jay, you can't be happy is what you'd be saying,
right.
Which is not okay.
No, it's
and,
not.
And that's the other thing. If you're in a relationship where you feel like you have to shrink, please reevaluate that relationship because been there, done that.
Me too.
That is not, there's going to be a Band-Aid. It is possible to throw a Band-Aid on there to say, oh, this is fine. I can make this work. This will be okay. But let me tell you, that turns into resentment. That turns into bitterness. That turns into so many other things because you have to be able to follow your heart. You have to be able to create your own happy, which is, again,
just like
and dream big and be happy. And this is where you pick yourself. And it's not a bad thing. You should have a partner that feels the same way about themselves.
And they shouldn't make you feel bad about it. Yeah. I just remember being in a relationship where it finally dawned on me that I could never do enough. You know what I mean? And I was so empty and so drained, and I was numb. I was absolutely numb. And I saw that happening to her. And I remember the first time we had a pretty serious relationship. I was sitting behind my desk. She was my boss. She was sitting there, and she was so sad. And I said, they have sucked the creamy goodness out of you. And that's what it feels like. And I said, you've got to allow yourself to regenerate your creamy goodness. You've got to be around other people who aren't just taking from you. Yeah. I recognized it because I was empty. I was past empty. Yeah. I didn't even have any fumes left.
Yeah. Some people call it dimming your light. Some people call it when you feel like you have to shrink into a box. Yep. Some people calling it, getting all the creamy goodness sucked out of you. Like there's different ways of looking at it, but it's the same thing. It's when you feel like a shell of yourself. Yep. And you feel like you have to change yourself to please other people. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Like you should be. And this is so funny because this is this is part of this podcast is us, being scared shitless to throw this out there because we're being seen by, everybody.
Yeah, and I don't like the way I look on video. I don't like the way I sound.
But guess what? It's the way you look and it's the way you
It's the way I look and the way I sound. So it doesn't matter. It's just,
But that's the awesome part about what we're doing, because I'll tell you that for many people, I mean, this scares the crap out of us too. And for many people, the thought scares them to death and they would never do it.
Right.
But this is why we chose to do it, because we don't want to dim our lights and we don't want to shrink.
Nope. We believe in doing it scared. And the point of this is not to bring up the things that have happened to me. They're to bring up the things that I allowed to happen in my life and then what I chose to do with those things. It doesn't have anything to do with my failed marriages. None of it.
Right.
As a matter of
It
fact,
has to do with you picking you.
It has to do with me finally going, guess what, Julz? This is on you.
Yep.
Not them.
Yep.
You let it happen, so you chose it. And I know I'm oversimplifying, and there were some really hard, dark days that I went through when I finally took accountability. And I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my skin, it felt like it was on fire, and it was all anxiety. But then I'm just so proud of myself, and I want you to be proud of yourself. I want you to realize how valuable you are to you and to so many other people. And then once you recover, you are going to have an opportunity to share that journey with someone that's going through it, and you're going to be able to give them a genuine hug. And we just had one of Zach, my eldest son's, I said his name. His name's Zach. One of his friends came out to a race that Zach was at, and man, they went through some dark times, but it felt so good to see him in a place of recovery and him choosing himself, and to maybe bring him back into our family, because it doesn't matter where you've been or what you've done, you still deserve love and you deserve second chances. And I'm so thankful that I have my quarters, my people in my corner that love me through all.
Yep.
I mean, it was ugly. It was hard. It was hard on my mom. It was hard on my sister. It was hard on my kids. It was hard on my friends. But the ones that stuck around, man, we're solid.
And disclaimer to everybody, this is not rainbows and butterflies.
No.
This is not the easiest journey, but it is the most incredible, fulfilling, amazing path to leading you to your best life ever. Like, it is really amazing. And here we are today in 2025, and we've known each other since 2018, and we've gone through so much stuff, and we've seen each other in so many different highs and lows and everything in between. It really is amazing when you pick you, when you choose to do the work because you know that you're worth it. When you choose,
feel the lid come off.
Yes.
And there are the only limitations that there are the ones that you decide to say, well, that's not the direction I want to go in.
Yeah.
But you do get to choose. And I remember we were in a job situation recently together, and neither one of us were very happy. And
so we changed it.
I remember looking at Bette and I said, it's time for me to stop pretending like this is the only place I can make $1. I mean, I am not happy. This is really taken away from the things in my life that were making me happy before I did this. And so,
yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, you have to think about that. What steals your peace? Yep. What steals your happiness? What makes you feel like you have to shrink and dim your light? Yep. All of those things need to be gone. All of those things. And this is your choice. We're not, it is your choice. This is what we chose to do. And this is her quote that always comes up, and it's the most perfect quote, is the price of progress is the pain of change. And I'll tell you right now that when staying in the position that you're in is more painful than the fear of actually making a change, that's when, for me, that's how I know it's time to go. Because staying where I am, or where we were, that was more uncomfortable. I'm okay with the change because it's progress and improvement. I'll take it. I'm okay with growth.
I was so grouchy. I was getting so grouchy every night I would get home. And Jay finally looked at me. He was like, I don't want you doing this anymore.
Yeah.
He
knows.
He does.
He
He's
knows.
like, if you're not, this is making you so miserable. And that's not what I want for my life.
Right.
It's not, he was like, I don't want it for my life. I don't want your crumbs. Right. And that's what I was giving him. And he deserves more than crumbs from me because he never gives me crumbs.
Right. So it's, what do you deserve for you? What does your partner deserve? How are they showing up for you? You know, are you equally yoked once again? And then evaluating kind of all of the things of, are you able to sit still? Are you able to actually think about where you are, where you want to go? Think about what makes you anxious. Think about, if you're in the dating scene, think about just fill your life up with your own happiness and experiences and joy, and your person will find you.
Yep.
Your person will come, and you won't have to change a thing about you when it's your person.
And you won't have to change. You won't have to chase them
Right.
at all. They will. They'll call. They will call you. They will text you. They will show up. They will court you. Let a man court you.
Yeah.
Men, we need to bring the whole true dating thing back because it's just amazing.
Oh, good
it's
God.
So much fun when you don't have to chase them and they let you know that they
Well,
really are into you.
Well, so since you're not dating anymore, since you're with Jay, let me tell you what the current state is of the dating world right now.
I'm glad I'm not in that anymore. I'm glad I don't have to have any more babies. There's a lot of things that I'm glad that chapter has passed in my life.
It's actually really interesting, but to be honest, I'm still happy because I love me.
Yeah.
So I'm still happy and I'm fine. But it is interesting because I look at it and I, kind of dip my toe in the water and then I'm like, I think I'm good over here. It's very interesting. But come from that place instead of trying to latch on to something that is not
Right.
yours. It's not your right fit. It's not where you're supposed to be. So
you can tell too.
Yeah,
So
you can tell.
don't lie to yourself. We could keep talking, and we're going to on more episodes.
We're going
but
to. We're
Our
going
timer
to.
went off, so we're going to give y'all's time back to you.
Yes. And
Pick you.
Yes. And as I always say, if please, we would love to hear feedback, comments, any topics that you might want us to talk about and share some experiences about. You can post something down in the comment section, or you can always send us an email, hello@bettyandjulz.com, BETTE.
JULZ.
And we love talking about this stuff. We have amazing conversations all the time that we want to continue to share with you. So until the next time, thank you for joining us on this one, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.